when I asked him to give me the stiff introduction, this is what he gave me. A low-key ordinary designer based in Japan. And some might call me the legend, but just a chill guy. And he say had no idea how to introduce himself because he always felt like he's flexing. But actually, this is what he does for his previous decade experience in design. He has been working in fintech and across different domains in fintech. So he is an expert when it comes to the design, product design in fintech. And also he has a previous experience working as a product manager. So right now, the floor is yours. Please kindly share your advice, suggestion in terms of how to do the design task smartly. Please kindly share your screen. Thank you.
I forget to unmute myself. Can anyone hear me clear, right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I will share my screen. Thanks, Lindsay, for
yeah, thank you for your stiff introduction, like the second one, not the first one.
Okay. I think we are short of time. I try to finish everything in 20 minutes.
Yeah, take your time. Like we wanted to hear that, but you can just highlight what is most important.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining this session. Again, my name is Nino, and I'm just a normal designer in PayPay. So today I will share you tips like how to handle your design challenge assignments. Just know that I have only 3 nights to do this, so I'm not covering everything, but I want you to perform the best. So I'm just going to give you the inside tips that most of you might not ever think about. If you have, it's you, congratulations, you're great designers. So the tip from Nino, a common designer from your neighborhood. Okay, so what is design challenge? I think everyone know that already, that it's a second phase of interview. So we don't have to go deep into the definition. So let's get to the point. That's what I like the most. So how would you rock star of the design challenge? So normally when you think of the design challenge, it's how you solve the problem. You address what is the problem. Then you validate what is it's a right problem that you have to solve it or not. Then you find a root cause of it to validate again that it is still solving a problem on solving the real problem or not. Then you think of the way that how to solve the root cause. You have to think of the consequence. Again, it's too much. Then you frame the problem. And in order to pick the best problem, you just have to choose wisely that there's many kind of problem, but you have to choose one because you don't have enough time. And the most important is what you forget the most. Everyone try to solve a problem, but they solve in the short term. So try to think on the long term more. So now let's go back to the basics, how to create the best mindset for that. So when you receive design challenge, it's very important that how you see yourself as, because you can be just a new designer, junior designers. You would think that oh, I do not know much. I just try to do design. If you think you as a product designer, senior product designer, you try to think to the end goal. You try to leverage yourself more. And if you think yourself as a design lead or design manager, you try to think of the big picture, how to control that. But if you start to think as a developer, you might start to think of the box, and congratulations. Product manager, you might think into another point of view. So we know that it's not important that what is your level right now. It's more important that how you see yourself, who you want to be, and try to be it. Because there's one lesson that I learned when I start my career very early. One person told me that it's not about your level, because even you're a junior right now, you can try to be senior and try to act like one, so that when the day you become senior, you don't have to try to be the senior anymore, because you're trying that ahead of time, and it's a very good exercise, a way how you train yourself to become senior. You just become one. Just ignore what is your level. Just try to become one, and you find a way. So you might be asking why have to think this way? Because it's very simple. If you think yourself as a designer, you will not think outside the box. You will think in the frame that if you're designers, you will think of design mostly. But if you also think yourself as a product manager, you will start to think about the metric and the values, how everything impact the business. And On top of that, if you think yourself as like a business owner, if I own this app, own this company, own this product, you will think of the future opportunities, and that three things create you a great designer. If you already have that in your mind, congratulations, you have a great vision for designer. You should keep that in mind and pursue that more. So now let's come back to that how you will solve a problem when you get the design challenge. So I have a tip for you that like to keep this principle in your mind. First, you have to address and validate the problem. Then you pick the most impactful approach. Then you think of the metric, success metric, how to grow that over the time, what you can play that, and how can you leverage that in your design. So with this tree, I can confirm that like you have like a very great solid design challenge, and it also can apply for your past and previous project as well. Plus the two things, which is the blue one, the blue chips. So how would you impact the business in cost and growth, and how you would contribute the best experience to the market? But believe it or not, these two doesn't go together because when you go for the business, you sacrifice the experience. When you go for the experience, you sacrifice for the business opportunity. So most of the time we have to balance that, but it cannot be like 100% of these two. It have to be like a peak left or right most of the time. But don't worry, we will talk about that later. So now let's go for like a sample design challenge that I take is somewhere and have like little modifications. So today, the example is that we want to design a mobile wallet feature for the public transport. So the scenario is that we want to create a seamless payment experience for a mobile wallet that integrate with Japan public transport system like a Suica and Pasmo. I believe that most of you know what it is. And our objective is to focus on problem solving for usability in crowded environments and onboarding flow. So let's get started. Like I will just show you step by step how to create a mindset, how to tackle the problem, and how to build the foundation in order to succeed the design challenge. So we know that the topic is to build a mobile wallet that support the public transport. So the first two things that I would like to bring on the table is we have to research the context. We have to address and validate the problem, and that led you to the research foundation that create makes you research things and try to validate things. But before you going for what you want to research, you have the foundation, you have to have the solid ground, what you want to do first. So I do like a quick homework for you because I just have like 3 nights, so it's very time intensive for me to come up with everything. So first, the problem context. The problem context. So we know that like there's like a physical and digital payment both exist in a transportation payment, not just the train, also include in like a bus, Shinkansen, and like anything else that can possibly happen in Japan. So you know that like in like digital is much more convenient than physical, but there's still reason why people use like physical. So you know that like nowadays we have smartphone and everyone carries smartphone, right? Meanwhile, we also having like IC card. You might keep it in your pocket, you might keep it somewhere, but trust me, it's like much more easier for you to pull up the smartphone than find an IC card because you pull up the smartphone much more frequent, like every day, and become your muscle memories. So technically, like in order to pull up the phone and pay on a transport, it's much more easier than finding IC card. But the question is that what doesn't make them transition to digital payment when digital payment is much more easier and more convenient? What is the user problem over here? That is like one of our user problem contexts. And then we go next to the demographic context because with the problem context, it's also specified to some ages and groups. So we had to find out like who is the target for this kind of app in Japan, like the age, the group, the profession. It could be anyone, but it's like common questions. And then we know that like we want to build for Japanese because it belongs to Japan. What kind of app Japanese user would prefer in Japan? Is there anything specific on the design or not? And then, so in that graphic, we can go into like a very detail oriented on the feasibility of technology. Is that what are the major technology in user smartphone, and what is like in that technology, what is segmentation percentage of that demographic. So it can tell you, give like insight that like, oh, I cannot use this one because I'm using Apple. I cannot use this one because I use an Android, for example. So every two of these things can lead you to the research foundations. So the next gonna be that now I have to settle up the research foundation, then I have to frame it, and I have to pick the impactful approach. Let's go step by step over here. So the problem foundations, we know that like there's, let's say that like I spend my time to do the homework, so I create a foundation. So it look easy on you, but I just spend a little time to do the homework over here. So there's like, let's say that like I found a problem foundation for me and I set into like a 2 bullet points on my problem foundation, which is there's a technology gap in smartphone, which allow only Android smartphone that's sold in Japan to use the NFC payment tab. That means if I'm a foreigner, I use Android, I cannot use a smartphone pay to tap to pay in Japan because it doesn't support. Yeah. And meanwhile, like some of the Apple smartphone, they can bypass that with Apple Pay, but just really some of that because like not every phone type have the NFC. Let's say like iPhone 1, iPhone 2, or some of the SE, they might not have the NFCs. And the second problem population that I found is like Japan is a cash-based society, so many of senior citizens still keep it up until now. And they have a lot of large margin of the population who is like elder and senior. So this segment, they struggle with the technological adaptation with the most. So many of them doesn't know how to use a smartphone that well. That's why they still use like a traditional things or traditional way of how they live. And that is not their problem at all because they just find it kind of difficult. So now we have like we can break this into like a 4 chips on this example here, and we have to start to frame the context. So you see, like number one is like it's not likely to support like the foreigner phone, especially Android, and it's have like favor for the Japanese smartphone more. Excuse me. So that's why I picked this one because the first one support the second one, which make the second one stronger. So we're gonna pick the Japanese smartphone first. And then we know that like there's like large number of the senior citizen in Japan. I'm not gonna show the numbers because I don't have to do like every exercise. And if it's come to you design challenge, you have to do homework by yourself. Let's say I just mark it to like N% first. And then we think that like application nowadays is not friendly for the senior citizen enough. So we want to focus on the Japanese smartphone as the first point. And we want to build the application that also friendly enough for the elder and senior so that we can convert larger like the margin on the senior that we believe use like the most physical form of payment into big application. So this is like all problem statement. Now, after we have the most impactful approach, right? The first thing that we do, that we tend to do, is that we will jump into creating design solution and we think of the success metrics. And this is like also one of the mistakes that many people miss out because like you come from the conclusion what you want to build, and then you just go into the solution. But in order to leverage that, I have the tips that like what kind of mindset you can have in order to make it more impactful, make it more like efficient for interviewer who read your portfolio and design solutions. So do you remember this too, right? This is like a two thing that I say is like it's like an all statement because not it's like left or right most of the time. It can have 50-50, but most of the work condition we just favor like only left or right. So today we want to talk about like how it would impact the business in cost and growth. Don't worry, you don't have to do anything about business. I'm just going to give you the tips and mindset. So you would like to bind like how would it impact the business into the success metric. So the first thing is you want to understand the cost and the long term of the growth potential of the product you're building in. One of the tips is that like many people, when they get an assignment to build the growth, to build the product, to build like constant growth, they fail the assignment because they think that like they can done assignment by leveraging the growth, by giving like easy offers, benefit, unaware that when you do this way of engagement, buying the users, you didn't put your design skill to solve the problem at all. Basically, what you think behind it is like marketing. You just find like the way to burn the money of the company, and then you just buy the users. So let's speak honestly, you don't need a design if you do that way, and that doesn't like present yourself as a designer at all because you're just spending money to buy the users. So the right mindset that need to put your hats on is that you need to think of yourself that you can be that you're designers, not just to create it alone, but you will be developing this for next 2 and 3 years. So when you think in this way, you see things in like a really long run of the projects. So when you see things like 2 and 3 years, you want to spend the money, it's not option anymore because we know that like it just lasts for like only the first year. When it comes to the second year and third year, you cannot use the same trick anymore. And with this mindset, it pushes you away from going for the quick win, but making you step back and look in like a long run and like the whole journey. I know it's hard, but let's get over it. So now after you have just two mindsets, you would think that like what kind of the metric you need to validate if you have to incubate this for 2 to 3 years, couple of years. And you will not start to think that like you don't have every kind of information, what you need to validate in order to piece up the upscale, the missing point that you don't have the a first evidence of the research. So you will try to find like the why and like the missing piece, and it's gonna make you like a think more critical, think more impact, like a impact and more efficient. And you would think that like what kind of metric you could use to improve the business, not the experience alone, because you have to stay with it for like 2 to 3 years at least. And that's like a good mindset how to handle design challenge. So now let's do this assignment again. Let me repeat every step together after we have this mindset. So now let's revise the statement that we have. So we know that we want to design a mobile application for the feature for the public transport. We don't know if a new application or the existing application. I will skip this point, and because like we are just focusing on like what is the right mindset to handle the problem. So we start with the address and validate the problem. So this is your research foundation. Let's say that like I found the answer for my homework that there are like some X million passengers using the public transport every day in Japan, especially in Tokyo. So everything need to happen in a fast pace because like there's million passenger and just only few station and few bus stop. So while the smartphone payment is much more convenient, there's still larger margin of the physical payment users. Despite it's like a lot more hassle, it's need more process. And now in your research, you list down that like why, because like I cannot link to the payment method I have. This app doesn't support. Or like I prefer the cash more, or I don't have the credit card that support whatsoever you list like all the pain point of user over here. Now the next you start with like how might we create a design solution in this area. So you pick impactful approach, right? For example, I summarize as like I want to build a wallet that have many integrated payment method because I think that like in order for anyone to use the IC card, they have to top up from many sources because not everyone having the same bank, having the same card, using like the wallet. It had to be flexible, so this should be core functions. And then I want to design the wallet to be elder-friendly due to like large of demographic that they struggle the most, and I believe it's like a problem of the physical payments, mostly because like anyone else could just use any wallet service because like a Gen Z, Gen Alpha, or like our generation, we are very flexible with the technology and we know how things work. But you see, like this two is just like core function, and if you just present all these two, you just like no one better than any other designers, because like if I have like let's say I come from PayPay, I just have PayPay, so I just build PayPay too. that PayPay 2 doesn't win over PayPay 1 because I just built like a duplicate that have exact the same features to the competitors. So now, when you want to build something, you have to approach something bold, something like more impact. So let's say we are also looking for something like a killer features that could serve as utility purpose, could serve as like onboarding. So when we think of the wallet, we can look back again and like, oh, this is like the wallet that everyone have. But if I want to build something new, how can I contribute the best experience for the user and bring the user to market? Maybe I can create something like the cost simulation to for the trip planning, so that like any new user can come to my app that they want to plan the cost in the app, and then they might convert to the customer later. So this is like how you propose like a queuing feature and stand out of like other candidates. You also have the plan, the idea for like something new that you think it might be impactful, but you also create like safeguard, like a call function that tell the interviewer that like you know what are the basics, but you just try to go beyond. So you initiate like third point, and that is like the plus for any kind of design challenge because it tells you that like you understand the business well, but you also think outside the box, and that's why we should hire you. It seems valid, right? Don't worry, this is one. It's like I just create on my own. It might not be the success one, but it just show me that like I put effort into thinking something new. So the last one would be that like now do you want to show that like you're so being data driven person because you propose a measurements after the project that like what kind of metric you want to confirm, what kind of metric you want to measure in this project in order to guarantee the success. So this is like example of long-term vision success metric that I just asked chat and also add on my own. This is just a sample, so it will be much more than that. But when you present this to the interviewer, it's give the sense that like you put time, effort, you know what you're doing, and you're a professional one. So something basic like number of payment method link, because like if you link a lot of payment method into the wallet app, that means you tend to use it more. So it's like adoption, the active users, retention rate, the onboarding success rate, and drop off rate could like show you like the health of your app, and also like the time spent on onboarding, because like again when we come to the objective, they say they want to improve their onboarding experience. So that means that if they spend that time to create a new user, it's much more healthy than spend a lot of time and might drop off later because they're confused. And then like this one, like simulate app costs. So if they plan a lot of route in this app, it can be great success metric for adoption because the people are using this killer feature and might convert to customer later. And some basic of the usage metric, because not just adoption alone, you have to show that like how you measure success in long-term performance. Like you can show something like how many transaction process is a success. So you have a healthy app, like how many like average top up and average usage per month, per days, and the frequency of the user use, because this again like this tree related to like a daily active retentions and like metric likes like the like how impactful like this app create to the user life. The more it's good, the more it's like a better, because when any user use a lot of service a lot, that means this have like a lot of good in the products. And after you reach this tree, I'm not even create a design, right? I just only have only three valid statements. And now if you can read this tree and you can think that like what kind of product I'm gonna design in the end, it just gives you like such a clear picture and what to do and what to solve already. So that means if your statement is valid, your design is valid too. I didn't create any design over here, but I could persuade some of people to agree that like what my design solution might be impactful. Because if the statement is valid, everything the foundation is valid, then the design gonna speak, enhance the statement to be like a more attractive, more alluring, and more impactful in anyone's eyes. Don't you agree? So today, sorry, I don't have any design to show you, but I just want to show you that like if you build the foundation right, you can guarantee like over the success of the design challenge interview. And when you take the design challenge interview, try not to think that like interviewer is try to interrogate your information, try to steal your knowledge. Because like especially if you are like a new to the market, new to the industry, think of the way that like it's like a chance to improve yourself and your execution skills. It's like a chance for you to take the real world challenge. And the more you do, the sharper you are. And because I do a lot of that, so I have some level of the sharpness when I think a lot, especially when I start a career. I try to do a lot of challenge. I don't care that like will they get information for free or not, because like all this statement come from me, not come from them. If they can steal that, they can just take it for just only one time. But if they have me, they can have it every time, and that's it. Oh, anyway, if you're interested on anything else, you can check my article. I'm gonna post a link later.